morning everyone. This is Standard 10 Economics class over here. Okay, and today we are going to start with a new chapter, Consumer Awareness. Now consumers, we have come across this word frequently, even class 9 when we spoke, when we were learning about economics, okay, consumers, producers, these are quite common words. Now consumer, as per the Consumer Protection Act of 1986, consumer has been defined as a person who buys goods and services for a consideration. Now this consumer, okay, that is you and I, okay, he's not somebody come down from heaven. It is just you and I, any ordinary person, every one of us are users of different products which industry has to offer to us. Now we have to be more conscious, we have to be more alert as consumers, and that's exactly what consciousness or awareness is all about. Okay, now why should we be alert? Okay, what is the need of being alert? Okay, or why should we be so conscious? It's because the unscrupulous sellers out there are always ready to exploit us. There are different forms of consumer exploitation. Let's just go through it. First point is underweight and under measurement. Okay, now in Goa we don't generally come across this kind of situations. Okay, but yes, in other parts of the country there are producers or the sellers, I would say, they are exploiting the workers, they are exploiting the consumers, okay, by selling underweight products. Generally what they do, they have these weighing scales, right? Okay, so they attach a magnet. So when the measurement, when they are measuring the quantity, like for example, if I want to buy 1 kg of rice, okay, the seller will weigh 1 kg of rice. The scale will also show you 1 kg. But actually if you try and weigh it again, it will be somewhere around 800 grams. Okay, so that is a kind of exploitation which consumers usually face. Then selling of duplicate products. Yes. Okay, there we have all these international brands like Nike, like Adidas, okay, or any other brand, even indigenous brands which ordinary people cannot, they cannot afford it. So now, what can be done about this? There are producers here who try to duplicate these products. Now some of them do it, they follow the procedure of licensing. They obtain licenses and they do it, but there are some who do not. Okay, and these duplicate products, okay, are sold in the market. Now Nike t-shirts. Now these duplicate products, they look exactly like the original make. So you cannot, only a person who's using Nike, he will be able to differentiate. So selling of duplicate product is also a kind of exploitation. And then again higher prices. That's one of the most common way of exploiting consumers. Now that we are all trapped in this precarious situation, okay, we all know that we have to be in the four walls of our house because of COVID disease, which is very fatal. All right. So now at this moment we are in need of items like sanitizers, hand washes, masks, okay, gloves. These items are much more in demand than groceries. Okay, so what is happening in the market? These producers of these products, they are trying to create artificial shortages. If you go to a pharmacy to buy a mask, they will say we don't have it. And then even if they try to provide you with one, it is very, very expensive. So now the producers of these items are trying to rule the roost. Okay, so it's a kind of exploitation that's going on, and we are in a most vulnerable situation. We have no other option than to pay 800 rupees or 250 rupees, whatever amount that they are charging us. Okay, so that is how higher prices, okay, are used, okay, to exploit the consumer. Then lack of safety device is another way of exploiting. Okay, what do you understand by safety devices? Like, I don't know whether you have noticed it, but just be a little careful, I would say, observant. Yes, that's the right word. Okay, try to see if the tube light in your house have this ISI mark. Okay, ISI is what? Indian Standard Institute. Okay, so ISI is in use right since 1955, and it is actually developed for industrial goods and electrical appliances, like electronics, etc. So if any of these products, consumer durables or other electrical appliances, if they bear this ISI mark, that means it conforms to the Indian standards. and it is very safe to use. Then we have another important mark, that is the egg mark. Okay, this mark is basically meant for agricultural products. That the egg mark, you know, the abbreviation, this is the abbreviation, the full form is agricultural marketing. Okay, even edible products, okay, like your masala, the spices that are available, you know, these edible products, products, you know, the edible products or the masala spices that are there, okay, they should also bear the egg mark, so that is an indication that it is very safe to use. So then we have other marks like the red dot and the green dot. Okay, red dot indicate non-veg, okay, green dot indicate vegetarian, isn't it? So these are all marks that are developed by the government in order to ensure safety of the consumers. But there are some products or there are some producers who do not make use of these marks. They don't, their products do not conform with these marks. So with these devices rather. Okay, so lack of safety devices is another way of exploiting the consumer, creating artificial scarcity. Now at this moment, deliberately there is a scarcity of masks. Okay, this is sometimes producers, they try to they are playing up with the consumers because they know consumer is at a lower footing as compared to him. Okay, we are more vulnerable. So he is trying to create an artificial he is trying to create that scarcity of goods. Fine. Okay, so that is artificial scarcity. Now it's quite common in the food grain industry or agricultural industry. These wholesalers who are dealing in food grains, they hoard the stock of food grains. They wait for the prices to reach the peak and then they will release it in the market at a very, very high price. Okay, so that's one way. Then poor after sale services. Okay, what do you mean by after sale services? So when we buy air conditioners or when we buy any consumer durable product for that matter, okay, these after sale services become imperative. Okay, the warranty card, we have to make sure that we have a warranty card as a guarantee card. Okay, and then if now according to these the warranty card or guarantee card, the seller, it's a kind of promise made by the seller that if anything goes wrong with the product, okay, as long as the warranty period is there, he will either he will give you free services. If repairs are required, then it will be free of cost. If it's a guarantee card, means if at all something goes wrong within the stipulated, goes wrong with the product that you have bought, okay, within that stipulated period of time, which could extend to 2 years or even 3 years, okay, they will replace it. The seller will replace the product with a new one. But sometimes what happens, sellers do not keep their their promises. Okay, so that's another way of exploiting it, adulterations. Okay, they use different types of adulterants or impurities, impurities to lower, okay, or to make the original commodity lose its nutritional value. Okay, this is quite common in edible products, okay, like milk for example, or any food items. Okay, these adulterants, okay, these impurities are added. These are like unnecessary substances or chemical substances also. Okay, they are added in the original product so that the nutritional value is lowered, and also that the commodity loses its basic nature and the quality deteriorates. Okay, so adulteration is one way or a form of exploitation, and last but not the least is the rude behavior of the seller. Okay, that is also a form of exploitation. So when we have so much of forms of exploitation, a consumer can be exploited in so many different ways. Okay, what are the reasons? Okay, why do you think consumers can get exploited, or why do you think consumers are more vulnerable? Okay, it is because there are certain reasons behind it. Lack of information. We as consumers, okay, do not keep ourselves abreast with the latest information in the market. We depend on the sellers for everything. So this lack of information, okay, the sellers will take undue advantage, okay, of the consumer. Then shortage of goods. We tend to get exploited because of the shortage of goods. Okay, these shortages are sometimes deliberately created by the seller. So we are again vulnerable. The prices will increase. Okay, and then we will have to purchase that commodity at a very hiked price. We are left with no option. Then limited competition, monopoly. Sellers try to monopolize. That's another reason why consumers are exploited. For example, if you are living in a remote village, okay, and there's only one grocery shop in the entire locality, that person, that shopkeeper will definitely try to exploit by charging high prices, because he knows the villagers, the residents of that village will not be able to travel all the way to the city to buy just 1 kg of sugar or 1 kg of rice or any other requirement. They have to come to him. So that's monopoly. Okay, monopoly is a market situation where there is one seller and there are many buyers. So it is a market structure without any competition. Okay, illiteracy is another reason, especially the illiterate people. They are most vulnerable. Sellers take undue advantage of their situation and they are exploited, and ill effects of advertisement is another reason for exploitation. Now let's take an example of all these cosmetics, especially these beauty creams that girls usually use or ladies use. Now we are in a monopolistic situation. Okay, this the market structure which is prevalent today is known as the monopolistic market situation, where there are different types of firms. There are a lot of firms manufacturing products that are close substitutes to each other. Okay, soap, for example, the utility of a soap is for bathing. But we have so many varieties of soap available in the market, and every firm, may it be Hindustan Lever, or it could be ITC, that Fiamma Devils, for example. Okay, Hindustan Lever is offering us Lux and Lidl and Rexona brands, okay, huge brands. Then we have Procter & Gamble. So each one of them, what are they trying to claim? My product is better than the other rival product. Okay, that's product differentiation, which is an important characteristic of your monopolistic market situation. So when you want, as a producer, when you want to differentiate your product from the rival product, okay, you only have one option, and that is resorting to promotion, advertisements. That's it. Okay, so advertisement can be considered as a salient feature of monopolistic competition. When they advertise, sometimes they make falsifying claims. So these beauty creams that are being sold in the market, whether it is Pond's or whether it is your Fair and Lovely or various other brands that are available to us, what do they say? That this cream, if you use the cream, it will help you to beautify or your complexion. Okay, you will have a fairer complexion. But those of you who have learned biology, we know that there is a pigment in the skin called the melanin, and that determines the skin color. So no cream, no chemical can change the skin color. And many young girls and ladies are using these creams, okay, with the aspiration that will help them beautify. And when the results are zero, they get dejected. So that is another reason for exploitation. We are not well informed. Okay, lack of proper information is one of the most important reasons for getting exploited at the hands of these unscrupulous sellers. Fine. Okay, now let us move on to the importance of consumer protection, because it was decided, it was way back, four decades ago. Okay, when there were some Indian laws, okay, which used to protect the consumers, but they were not so effective. Fine. So government of India at that period of time thought that it is important, because there were so many grievances, so many complaints of the consumers about the exploitation that has been happening in the market. And then government of India at that period of time, I'm talking about the 80s, okay, 70s and 80s. Okay, this is in the early 80s, when government of India realized that yes, there is a need to protect the interest of the consumers. There is a need to ensure that the sellers do not adopt any kind of malpractices like the monopolistic trade practices or restrictive trade practices, to make the seller abstain from using unfair trade practices, so that the interest of the consumer is protected. And that is the reason why Consumer Protection Act of 1986 was passed. Okay, now the importance of, let us talk about consumer protection first. Okay, then we move on to COPRA. COPRA is the abbreviation for Consumer Protection Act of 1986. Okay, popularly it is called as COPRA. Okay, now what is the importance of consumer protection? I have just briefed you. Let us do the points now. To make sure that seller do not adopt malpractices or unfair trade practices. Okay, that is the reason why Indian government thought that we must protect the interest of the consumers. Consumers were vulnerable. They were at a lower footing. Okay, the sellers had an upper edge. So government realized that these sellers are using different malpractices. Okay, or they are making use or resorting to different types of anti-social activities like speculation, hoarding. This is quite common in the agricultural market. Food grains are hoarded. Okay, and then when the price starts soaring high and reach the peak, then they are released in the market. They are made available at a very skyrocketing price. Artificial shortages are deliberately created. So all these are anti-social activities. To keep a check on these activities, government thought consumer protection is required. And most importantly, consumer protection, the importance of consumer protection is to encourage and ensure effective implementation of consumer protection laws. There were laws, some laws at that time, but they were not so effectively implemented. People were not aware of these laws. So government thought we need to implement them very effectively. Ensure that people are aware of it and they are able to enjoy their rights and perform and fulfill their duties. Okay, now let us move on. Let us move on to consumer rights and duties. Okay, so we have been just learning about consumer protection here. And I just spoke to you about the importance of consumer protection, that before 1986, that is in the way back in the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, consumers had lot of grievances. They did not have a platform to seek redressal. Okay, and they were also not very well informed about the laws that were prevalent, okay, or that were implemented at that time to protect the consumers. So the government came up with this decision of having the Consumer Protection Act of 1986, that was passed in 1986. We have already learned the importance of consumer protection. Now let us talk about the consumer rights and duties. All right. Now Consumer Protection Act, it confers certain rights and expects the consumer to fulfill certain duties. Now this is not only the Consumer Act of 1986 that expects the consumer to fulfill the duties or confers or has given certain rights to the consumers, but the Indian laws that were prevalent before the enactment of this act also had conferred these rights on the consumer. Now the first right, these are the usual 6 important rights that a consumer usually enjoys. First is the right to safety. Okay, to protect the consumer from the marketing of hazardous commodities. Any commodity that has the probability or the possibility, that has the capacity or the probability, of causing harm, okay, or causing harm to human life and property are considered as hazardous. So to protect the consumer from some marketing of from the marketing of such commodities, okay, it's very important that the consumers remain informed about what's happening, and they need to be protected. Next is right to information. Sellers cannot conceal any information from the buyers or the consumers. Everything has to be revealed. So that is the right to information. Right to choose. Sellers cannot adopt aggressive selling. Just because I want to get rid of whatever I have, I want to sell it off. I cannot expect the consumer to buy what I am offering him. He has the right to choose what he wants. Okay? There are a variety of goods available in the market and consumers can choose what they want to buy. Then right to be heard. It's very important, because way back then consumers did not have a platform, or there was no forum where they could sound their grievances. They were all aggrieved. They had a lot of complaints. complaints at that time, but there was no machinery as such where they could approach, and seek redressal. So they were, so now it was their right. It is their right to be heard. They have to be, their complaints need to be heard, and right to seek redressal, right? Seeking redressal in the sense like a solution, finding a solution to the problem that they are facing. Okay, that is their right to seek redressal as a consumer, and the right to consumer education. Okay, every consumer, whether it is the rural consumer or the urban consumer, we all should know the rights that we enjoy. As a consumer, what are our rights? That, we should be educated. So, so these are some of the rights that have been given to the consumer by Indian laws, okay, and then they were literally confirmed, or that they were bestowed upon us as consumers by the Consumer Protection Act of 1986. Now, what are the duties? Now, rights and duties, these are like twin sisters, right? Okay, so if these rights these 6 rights have been given to us, then the government also expects us, or the Indian laws also expect us to perform or fulfill certain duties. What are these duties like? That is, we as consumers should be alert. We have to be very conscious about what we are buying, and always we have to, we have to always make sure or ensure that we purchase standardized commodities. Okay, that is commodities which conform to the safety devices that are developed by the government of India, by various these institutions, I mean to say, like ISI for that matter. It is developed. It is in use since 1955. Okay, it is developed by Indian Standard Institute. Alright, and it is actually meant for all industrial products, all industrial products rather, electronic, electrical, everything, whatever, Then AGMARK, it is agricultural marketing. So it is developed by the Directorate of Marketing and Inspection, and it is meant for edible products as well as agricultural products. So we have these devices. There are so many more. Okay, these are a few examples I have just cited over here. Okay, so these are the standards that are developed by the government of India. So there are producers who make sure that their products conform to these Indian standards. So as consumers, it is our right, or it is our duty rather, I would say, that we should go in to purchase such standardized commodities. Okay, ask for warranty card and cash memo, because many a times when we go to a shop, we trust the seller. Okay, we don't walk out from the shop with a memo, okay, or the receipt we call it. So we have to ask the seller for a receipt, a warranty card, because if anything goes wrong, if at all you do not have these important documents with you, and say God forbid something goes wrong with the commodity that you have bought, like for example you buy an air conditioner or refrigerator, within a month span, okay, there are some repairs required, that machine breaks down, you have no evidence that you have bought it from that customer, from that seller. He can just wash off his hands. So these documents are very important. Be aware of your rights and duties as a consumer. This is one of the most important duty of a consumer. Okay, we have to know what are our rights. Right to safety, right to information, right to choose, right to be heard, right to seek redressal, and right to consumer education. Okay, that is our duty, we should know that. And another important duty is to form consumer associations. So when you have these consumer associations, these consumer associations can gain representation in various committees that are formed by the government to deal with matters related to consumers. Okay, so that's the importance of having consumer associations. Now consumers should also be aware of the method to be followed in case he is cheated. That's important duty. We should know if at all the unscrupulous seller cheats on us. Okay, if he has taken undue advantage of our simplicity, or rather of our lack of information, then what is the procedure that we need to follow in order to take him to task? Okay, so these are the important duties as a consumer. Now let us talk about COPRA, that is Consumer Protection Act of 1986. Now you know the background, why Government of India way back then thought that this act is important. It is because the main aim is to protect the interest of the consumer, who was very, very vulnerable then. Consumers are even vulnerable and they enjoy a lower footing than the seller even today. Okay, so that is your consumer, so that is the need for consumer protection. So there is a need for consumer protection, and that's the reason why COPRA was enacted in 1986. Alright, now let me just brief you on Consumer Protection Act of 1986. The act was passed in the month of October in 1986, but enforced on 24th of December 1986. Okay, now the most important feature, okay, there are certain features of this act, these are like special features. Now this act applies to all goods and services. Okay, it applied to all the goods and services that were available in the market. Secondly, it covered the private sector, public sector, and even the cooperative societies. Okay, they also came under the ambit of the Consumer Protection Act of 1986. The aim of this act was to protect the interest of the consumer. Okay, to take punitive action, severe punitive action against the unscrupulous sellers. So the act has already specified the imprisonment terms and the compensations which the seller has to pay to the consumer. So only after the enactment of the Consumer Protection Act of 1986, consumers enjoyed a better situation. They were in a better situation, because now if at all they are cheated on, okay, if at all they had any grievances about the product which they have picked up from the seller, okay, they were compensated. And the sellers also received punishment. Okay, so that was one of the most important aim, to avoid all kind of malpractices, and also to compel the seller to keep the antisocial activities at bay. Okay, now we were talking about the features. Let's come back. So I said that private sector, public sector, as well as cooperative societies, they came under the ambit of the Consumer Protection Act. And the most special feature of COPRA, or Consumer Protection Act of 1986, is the establishment of consumer courts and appellate courts across the country. This act introduced the three-tier judiciary system. And these judiciary bodies, they were all consumer forums. They were called as, consumer courts that were established at the district level, at the state level, and the national level. Okay, so if a consumer is aggrieved, so this is the, it's a kind of hierarchy. Okay, if I as a consumer is aggrieved, I have to appeal to the district level first. Okay, if I am not very happy with the verdict given there, I can appeal to the state level consumer court. If I am not happy with the verdict, then the last resort would be the national level. And again, if I am not very happy, then the only resort is the Honorable Supreme Court. Okay, so this is the procedure. This is the procedure of seeking redressal. So for the first time in India, we had a redressal machinery. There was a platform, a forum provided to the consumers to seek redressal. And that is the speciality of this particular act. Okay, and as I have already mentioned to you, the most important aim of Consumer Protection Act of 1986. Okay, now to talk about the rights and duties of the consumer, there was no much variation. Okay, before the Consumer Protection Act was enacted in the country, I have already mentioned to you, there were some laws. Okay, there were Indian laws to protect the interest of the consumers, and these laws had conferred the 6 important rights which we have just discussed. Okay, this act had affirmed them. Okay, now there was a little bit of more affirmation that yes, if the unscrupulous seller tries to exploit the consumer, okay, he had a platform, he had a judicial machinery to approach, okay, and appeal to in order to seek redressal. Okay, now why do I call these consumer courts as a quasi-judicial body? It is because they do not enjoy the complete right as the judicial body does. Okay, where your high court or session district court or your supreme court for that matter, these courts have the right to even give a death sentence. Okay, here these courts, that is the consumer courts, they do not have the right to give such intense punishments. Okay, at the most what they can do is imprisonment, or else they can ask the seller to pay compensation to the consumer. So that is why they are called as the quasi judicial body. So rights remain the same. Now we know that this act was enacted in 86. Okay, that means nearly 30 years ago. More than that, isn't it? So in 86, the business scenario in India was completely different. We know last year in the 9th standard we have already learned about the transformation that happened in the country in the year 91. That is 4 years after the Consumer Protection Act was enacted. India had undergone a tremendous change. There was a total transition or transformation, and that is because of the introduction of the LPG model. Liberalization, privatization, globalization. Things were different now. It was not the same as in 86. Okay, times were changing. And now we have somehow, so little amendments were made at that time. This Act was amended time and again to suit the requirement or to suit the circumstances, the business circumstances or the market circumstances. But now this Consumer Protection Act of 86 now is replaced by the new Consumer Protection Act of 2019. Okay, 2019. It is because we cannot compare the business situation or business environment way back then with the business environment now. Times have changed completely, consumer behavior has changed completely. So we required a new law, and that is the reason why this act was passed or enacted rather in 2019. Okay, the bill was introduced in the Parliament by the Minister of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, Mr. Ram Vilas Paswan, in January 2018. Okay, it was passed by the Lok Sabha on 30th of July and then enacted in November 2019. Now this bill was totally composed by the central government, and most important feature of the new act is that it covers the offline, online and the goods that are sold through various non-traditional markets. Okay, now there are certain changes that are made here in this act pertaining to the punishments or the imprisonment terms or the compensation. The new act has more, the punitive actions have become more stringent and they have become more strict. Okay, and again here the same, that the three-tier system continues. Okay, we still have the judiciary, the quasi-judiciary bodies, okay, to help the consumers seek redressal for their problems at the district level, at the state level and at the national level. So apart from these consumer courts, the new act has also established a central consumer protection authority. Okay, the main aim of this authority is to protect, promote and enforce consumer rights. So with this, we come to an end of this lesson. Thank you so much.